It is Saturday morning, 5:50 a.m. Squeaky brakes. All right, so we are starting off on the Santiago Creek Trail in the city of Orange, and it looks like we got a little bit of rain. Eyeballs are watering already. Hopefully my lens is on the camera is not too dirty. I didn't clean it this morning. Look out, bunny! Look out, bunny! Got a hill bomb. My visibility is a little bit limited because of these little patches of fog. Can't really see it on the camera, but when my light beam's shining down past my eyes, I can see it. So I gotta be cautious that I don't run into any people. It's 46 degrees, it's freezing. I was kind of overheating in my house when I was getting ready, so it hasn't gotten to my core yet, but I know pretty soon I'm gonna be frozen to the core. Oh, I just saw a rat go behind the bridge. Look out, bunnies! Look out, bunnies! Man, I can't see. That's no good to do that. So I was hoping to be able to go fast, but my visibility is pretty limited in patches. So you'll be surprised. Like you'll think, oh, there's nobody on the trail, but I pass a lot of people in the periphery. You watch some of these videos, you'll see smell of fire. Somebody's trying to stay warm. Oh man, see these patches. So if I'm going 25 miles an hour and then I hit one of these patches and there's somebody just happens to be staggering across the bike path, it can be bad. Man, this is not good. Spooky. Alright, we're going to be going under Tustin Avenue right now. This is a good little spot to camp out right here on my left. This is a good little spot for a fire. I would be right there. Yeah, this is, I can't. You can't really tell from the footage, but yeah, this is pretty. Pretty foggy. I did not expect this. So I was gonna jump off right here onto Cambridge and head over to Fairhaven and then do thought I saw somebody. And do Old Grand and then go through up to Santiago, or not Santiago, Lincoln, and then do go through Logan, go by the train station. I guess we still will, but it's gonna be a little dangerous because of the visibility issue, for not for me but for cars. So spooky. These Christmas lights look really cool. Wow, look at this. We're going over the 22 freeway right now. There's another person on a bike. Wow, it would be really cool to go in the cemetery right now. So the speed limit on this street's 40. This is Fairhaven. So the chances of somebody riding blindly through the fog at 50, 60 miles an hour is pretty high. Well, we got some cars coming on my left. They're going pretty slow. Alright, so we're not going to do Linwood, we're going to do the next street. Wow, look at that house, that's beautiful. Alright, we have to do some double, triple checks for cars. This car just came totally out of the darkness. Old Grand Street. Oh my God, it's so freezing and wet. My eyelashes have drops of water on them. So as I've talked about many times, I grew up in Tulare County. The little town I grew up in is called Terra. And man, the Thule fog, it was so bad. It would get so foggy. I mean, you can't even. The Central Valley is just a hole that, you know, where I lived there was foothills and everything, but I mean, from there, you know, you can picture the valley. It would just fill up with fog. You know, at some point, you know, that whole area was a marshland. It was a huge body of water, and you know, so there's just you know, we harness the water and put it into canals, but there's just still a lot of vegetation, a lot of fields, and it would get so foggy. It was unbelievable how foggy it would get. So like, sorry, let me get my thoughts clear here. I'm trying to decide. I guess we're gonna I should just go. Here we go. Yeah, it would get super foggy, like where you have zero visibility. You know, if you're driving in a car, you're on a country road, little 2-lane road out in the middle of an orchard or out in the hills, out in the fields. You literally, sometimes there's not lines on the road. It's just a narrow, sometimes it's a 1-lane road. But you would have to roll down. I can remember riding with my parents and them having to open the window and look down at the side of the road and navigate, and you're going like 5 miles an hour because you can't see. I can't even make it around these tracks. There we go. Oh man. Alright, let's double check. The e-scooter. A lot of people out on e-bikes. I've seen 2 people on e-bikes so far, and then I just saw a guy on a scooter. Yeah, I mean, it was terrible. I loved it, of course. You know, at nighttime, the road I lived on was called Avenue 95, and it was 1 block of houses that were probably built in the 70s. So it was the closest to, you know, a suburb. You know, we didn't live in downtown Terra. You know, it's just one of those little tiny towns that you would see like off the side of the old Highway 65. But we lived, you know, probably a mile or 2 from downtown, and it was just like this 1 block of regular houses, you know, a stucco house. But it still had, you know, every property had, you know, at least 1 acre. There were probably one acre plots of land. So we had a big pasture, and then the houses behind us would have a big pasture. What the hell? Look at all this traffic. Look at all these cars. This is weird, man. What the hell is going on? Look at this line of cars. It goes all the way down. Why is everybody in this lane? And there's a whole line of cars right there. What is this? Why would this be happening? Like, why aren't anybody in the other lanes just going around? So we're on Lincoln. The freeway isn't that as far away. Like, I don't understand. What is going on? Are people evacuating the city? I know that doesn't seem weird, but it is weird. Like, why is there's people honking their horns? It's like a funeral procession or something, but like, why? What is going on? What is this? Like, why would all these cars be backed up in this lane? What the hell is this? Oh, my bike just stopped. What is going on? Oh. I see. What the hell is this? Is this like a... What is this? What the hell is this? Okay, I can see people going over here. This is curiosity is just getting me right now. I'm thinking this is some kind of a food thing where people come here and get free food. Oh yeah. How's it going, man? Maybe it's COVID shots. Yeah, it must. Hey, brother, what's this for? For COVID shots?
No, it's for food.
For food? Oh, okay. Thanks, man. Holy jeez, I knew something was going on. Wow, bro. They must be giving away a lot of food. Wow. What a trip. Look at these cars are lined up so far. we go. OC commuters getting distracted again. I knew something was up. Wow. Not to be, you gotta be here. So not to be, I'm not trying to exaggerate my surprise, because like it's foggy. It's Saturday morning. It's all foggy, and you know, which kind of creates a strange atmosphere anyway. And then you see a line of cars. It's just it's just a trip to see. Like, I thought they were like all the way to the freeway or something. Alright, so we're in Logan neighborhood. We're going the opposite way on a one-way street. Yeah, I can't use my headlamp still. So my back brake is the little actuator that holds the cable. It's tight, but it keeps popping out. So I don't know what the heck's wrong with it. So I have to be careful. On how I approach my stops, because sometimes it'll stop working. All right, so we're going by the train station right now. Yeah, I remember one time they have a road in going through Terra called Old 65, and Old 65, you know, in between this Terra and this town called Porterville, which was our real town, our real city. The road curves around this way, and you know, these long curves, and in between the curves is is some railroad tracks. And my mom was on her way to work, and she didn't hit the curve right, and she ended up going along the railroad tracks, and got hung up on the railroad tracks and had to get rescued. Wow, this looks like a kind of a gnarly little area here. So we'll go hit the bike path. We were crazy though. So as kids, young kids, we would do, you know, we lived, you know, living out in the country, you get bored and you do a lot of crazy things. And one of the crazy things we would do, this is gonna sound bad, so please don't judge me. I was young. I wasn't misguided, I just wasn't guided. And we had a lot of freedom, a lot of freedom. All the freedom you could imagine. And I had my neighbors moved in, and they lived, so all the houses were stucco, but when our one neighbor, we were close to the corner of the block, and that house was a house that was built by a couple called Thelma and Louis Gamblin, and they had moved out there during the that Oklahoma Dust Bowl or whatever. They packed all their stuff up, bought that piece of property, and they had like 3 acres on the corner plot of this block. It's a country block, not like a city block at all. But so they have bought like a massive a massive piece of land, and they had settled it. They had a bunch of livestock, a bunch of chickens and cattle, a bunch of steer, and mainly that's what they had was, and then they had a huge garden and corn. Like they grew everything, like a huge garden. Like the garden was probably, the whole garden was probably 1/4 of an acre. It was huge, and they grew everything, you know, corn, onions, potatoes, anything you could think of. Had a bunch of fruit trees that they had planted. So I don't know when they built the house that was next to us, but it was just a small white house, you know, and it had that old thick grass that was like, you know, he would cut it really short, but it was just the type of house that was like, it had been there for a while. So when we moved in next to them, obviously we befriended them. We shared a driveway, and I spent a lot of time hanging out with Lewis and Thelma, and I would just run around their garden. At that time I was probably, you know, 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. But I'm getting a little sidetracked, but I just want to give you a history of this house, and maybe I'll just talk about that. So I remember Lewis, they were, it's hard to judge how old they were at that time, but they were probably, yeah, this was probably like 1980. So they were probably in their 60s at least, maybe even, probably not their 70s yet, maybe their 70s. And Lewis wasn't really tall. He was probably, you know, 5'7", and kind of he was not fat, because he was like, he was just a kind of a, you know, just what you expect like an older guy to look like, you know. He'd wear the button-up shirts and the suspenders, and he chewed tobacco. He chewed tobacco. He was bald. All his teeth were all just pretty much missing. Super nice dude. I mean, not real talkative, but just, you know, like a grandpa guy. And Thelma was super sweet. And you know, if we would go over to their house, they would let us play all around in their pasture and their garden, and we just had free reign of all this property. And like, it was weird. I can remember, like, you know, if you go over to Thelma's, you know, you get invited in, you know, you go through the screen door, and then you just sit on the couch, you know, kind of like a proper young child, and then she would make me a Coke, like bring me a Coke with ice, you know, and you just sit there and kind of talk. And it had a strange, their house had a strange, like, sweet smell. It was really kind of like wax and like something sweet. It was really strange. But anyway, so that house, after some years, you know, so Lewis drove an old GMC truck. It was an old green GMC truck with a camper shell, and then where you shifted the gears, like right here on the front, I forget what they call them. It was just like a little six cylinder, but you know, had a clutch, the 3 on the tree thing, whatever they call that. And anyway, Lewis passed away, and Thelma went into a nursing home or something, you know, I imagine. And so new neighbors moved in. So I don't know who ended up owning the house, but the house was bought by somebody else, and my neighbors, or my new people, moved into the house. And the new people that moved into the house were, oh god damn, that scared me. Were the a family that ended up being my best friend. So it was a guy named Gordon Keene, who was not a very good dude, and he was known for not being a very good dude in Terra. Him and his brother and that family had had kind of this reputation. And my parents knew them because my mom was a bartender at one of the bars in Terra. And anyway, so Gordon and his, I don't know if they were married or if it was his girlfriend, but her name was Sandy. And then Sandy had 3 kids, Joey, Timmy, and Angie. So Joey was the oldest. And I had an older brother that was about 5 years older than me. Joey was probably a couple years younger than my brother. And then Timmy was about a year younger than me, maybe 2 years, but I think he's just a year younger than me. So our neighbors moved in, and it was really cool because, you know, you got these new neighbors, and you know, you don't know how it's going to work out, you know, but we ended up being really good friends, and it made it more, you know, bearable to be at home, you know, having these friends to kick it with. So on in the back of that house, they had an old room that was a laundry room slash like canning room. I remember when Lewis and Thelma had it, they would keep all their not canned goods, what's that called? You know, they would store all the they would can fruit and vegetables, you know, put it in jars and store food and everything in there. Had a bunch of shelves and stuff, but when Joey and Timmy moved in there, they changed it to a bedroom. So it was really weird, like, to have them, looking back at it now, it was basically like they were living in a shed, you know, in the back of the house. But there was enough room for one bed that they shared, and that was about it, and one dresser. And like there, you know, if you go in there, there's like 1 foot of space around the bed that you could walk. And they put a TV in there when they had a Nintendo. That's when like Nintendo first came out. And but anyway, that's where the adventure began. You know, in the 80s, there was a lot of kids were into ninjas, right? Everybody was a ninja. You know, you could go to the swap meet and buy ninja stars and knives and ninja suits and all that good stuff. So, you know, we were into ninjas, they were into ninjas. So, you know, we would always be out running amok through the countryside, you know, playing ninja, and at night, you know, of course, we used to play a thing called ditching. So it would be Joey and my brother Jimmy against me and Timmy, and you get a certain amount of time. There was, you know, and the places you could hide, it was a huge area. Like you're talking like, I don't know how big the boundaries were, but you know, maybe not a quarter of a mile, but you know, somewhere around there, radius from their house. So they would stay in the bedroom, and we would get a certain amount of time to go hide somewhere on the property at night, and that's what we called it, ditch 'em. So we played ditch 'em. And I mean, that was so fun. I don't even know where I'm at, man. And so sometimes it would get foggy at night. You know, we'd play ditch 'em and stuff, but eventually, you know, you get bored of that. So we started doing this. We would go when it would get foggy. We started doing this thing, and it wasn't me and Timmy's idea. It was probably my brother's and Joey's. But cars would come by, and they would be going so slow because it was foggy, like very slow, like probably as fast as you could walk, maybe as fast as you could jog. So we would go kind of far from our house and be behind a bank or behind a little tree, you know, up in a field. You know, there was embankments that would go up, and then fields, and then your car is like in between the banks, you know, when you're driving. And we would go up in those fields, you know, hide behind a pomegranate tree, whatever. But visibility was, for those drivers, was like nil, like 10 feet max, you know. So there's not a lot of cars, but you know, every once in a while there would be a car. And we would wait out there. We'd have our ninja suits on, all our weapons and stuff, and we would wait for cars. And when the cars would come by, we would run out of the fog and like pound on their windows, or go in front of the car, go behind the car, and scare them. This is crazy. But we did that for a while. You know, anytime it got foggy, we were out there scaring people. Just pretty bad, but... And even like, back then is when all the slasher movies came out, like Friday the 13th and Michael Myers, and you know, everybody was really into watching those movies. And my brother was very much into horror movies like that. And like Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, those were like his idols, which was kind of strange, but so he got a Jason mask. My dad, I think, had made him one, and then I don't know where they got another one at, but they started doing this thing where my brother would walk way down the street, or Joey would walk like way down the street far away, and he would jump out in front of a car, you know, probably had a machete or something on him, something crazy, you know. Oh, we got a bunch of cars coming. And then my brother would be further down the road and, you know, far, like a quarter mile, and then he would jump out at him. So it was like, oh, Jason is right here. And they think they get away from Jason, and then all of a sudden Jason pops out again. So it had a tree house and a fig tree, and that's where Timmy and I were hiding out one night when they were doing this little thing, and we could see the road. It wasn't foggy this day, but it was definitely very dark. You know, there's no street lights, so when it's dark, it's dark out there. And we're watching from the fig tree, my brother and Joey do their little routine. And this truck, it was like a Bronco. When they saw my brother, they slammed on the brakes. And my brother's like standing there, and all of a sudden the truck comes towards him and starts chasing him. My brother's running. He runs up the embankment towards us into this plowed field, and this Bronco goes up the embankment into the plowed field. And my brother, I can see my brother running like Jason Voorhees with his machete, and that truck is like right behind him. And he ends up going down another embankment, and you know, he gets away. The truck stops and takes off, you know. But we couldn't believe it. I can remember watching, like, you know, from that fig tree with Tim, and we're like, I thought he was gonna die, you know. I thought they were gonna run him down for real. We would get the sheriffs called on us on a pretty regular basis, and we would always get away, but because we just knew we played ditch 'em, so we could always get away and find places to hide. But I think over time they, you know, I mean, I don't want to say the sheriffs got called on us all the time. I would say several times. But eventually we got caught. But me and Timmy didn't get caught, but my brother and Joey got caught. They got caught by the sheriffs. So, I mean, I don't know how they really got caught. They had to have surrendered, right? They had to have gotten scared, and instead of running, they just surrendered. I don't know. I don't remember the details, but I remember we were, you know, trying to get away from the sheriffs, and at night, of course, and you know, I don't remember where Tim and I were or where we hid, but we could see, like, on this side street out by the pomegranate tree, my brother and Joey and the sheriffs, and they're standing out next to the sheriff car, and the sheriff was talking to them, and I don't remember if we walked up there. I don't remember, but or if we just watched from a distance. I think we just watched from a distance, because I don't remember talking to the sheriff. But we saw the sheriff car, we saw the sheriff talking to him, and I can remember seeing, like, all these weapons out on the front, on the hood of the sheriff car. And this was probably, you know, a couple of 100 yards from our two houses. I don't really remember exactly what happened. I know that we went and hid because we didn't want to get in trouble. So I think we went to their bedroom and just pretended we were in there playing Nintendo, and we didn't know what was going on or something like that. And I'm thinking that the sheriffs probably ended up going over to Joey and Timmy's house maybe and talking to their parents, and told them, you know, that we'd been terrorizing that area for quite some time. I'll have to call up Tim. I'm gonna call up Tim and ask him, like, what exactly happened with that situation. man, I think I have a lot of stories about Terra. I just need to, I need to get a hold of Tim and ask him a few questions. There's another I've got another story about that, some good stories about this guy that lived out in the orange groves, and his name was Joe Eggman. And Joe Eggman was this crazy person that lived out in the orange groves, and that was far away from where we lived at that time. That was probably 4 miles away. But this dude basically lived with his mom, and like the Eggmans were known around the town. They made like honey, they had an orange grove, they had the beehives, and then they had this house. And my friend that I went to, so when we would go to school, we would get picked up in a school bus, would go all through the country and pick us all up. And my friend, or my classmate, Carrie, lived probably a half a mile from Joe Eggman. And one time after we picked up Carrie, this was the first time I ever saw this guy. This guy came running, really tall dude, like 6'5", white guy, came running out of the orange groves. He had one boot on, and he was just in boxer shorts and really scruffy hair and beard, and that's all he had on. He came running out in front of the bus out of the orange groves, and then took off running into another orange grove. And that's the first time I'd seen Joe Eggman. And so I had another friend named Nick that lived like about 2 miles away, and Nick had stories about Joe Eggman too, and he would prowl around people's property out in the country and spy on them, and just do all this crazy stuff. And he's just a dude that, the story was that he had done like some LSD or something, or gotten some drugs that were bad and just lost his mind. And so he would just spend all of his time wandering around the orange groves. He had a house, but he would wander around the orange groves and spy on people, mess with people's livestock, just terrorize the countryside in a huge swath of land, not just limited to a mile. Like, this dude would run and travel miles. And periodically we would see sheriffs come racing through town, looking for him. They would get on horseback and try to find him, and he would just hide out in the orange groves. It's crazy. Anyway, crazy stories. We'll catch you on the next video. Man, crazy stories, dude. They're real. It's crazy.